The stream of revelations about Downing Street parties suggests that for the past 2 years, the Prime Minister has had quite a lot to hide. Two Downing Street sources were told by senior members of staff, or a senior member of staff, that it would be a good idea to, quote, clean up their phones, given the multiple investigations being launched into lockdown parties. The sources claim it was suggested to them they remove any messages implying they had attended or were even aware of anything that could, quote, look like a party. The Independent report that one said they were told to clean up their phone just in case they had to hand it to the investigation, and a second said, I was being lent on during the discussion with a senior colleague and told to get rid of anything that could look bad. Both sources told The Independent they felt under pressure to delete communications and images.
The problem here is what impact this is going to have on public confidence when it comes to the possibility of needing further restrictions. How can this man and his government come out in favor of restrictions or tell people we need to implement restrictions, which will probably happen over the next couple of years? We're not out of the COVID woods yet, when we know that this is the kind of contempt that he holds for the very restrictions that he introduces. And I think that now that the cat is out of the bag, that flimsy excuse of, I thought it was a work event, it actually makes it worse. Because one of the key reasons why this is such an insult to the people in this country, apart from the actual party itself, which of course deeply insulting, it's the unreserved and bold-faced lying that has occurred from start to finish, that we have been subjected to from start to finish. And the audacity of the Prime Minister to avoid the question by saying, oh, I need to check with Sue Gray before I can answer whether or not I attended this party. I need to ask another person whether or not I attended a party or not. Treating the population like they're idiots. People don't like to be made out to be dickheads. They don't like to be taken for a mug. And I think insulting our intelligence in this way adds insult to the original injury. And I think that this is where the issue is so much bigger than just what seems to be one of many parties. But the lying and the corruption and the cover-up that has happened in the wake, it shows us that the people who have been running this country during a pandemic are far more interested in what they can get away with, in how they can enrich themselves, how they can continue their business as usual, rather than in the well-being of the people in this country. And we've seen that throughout this pandemic. We've seen it in the handing out of lucrative and essential contracts to their business owning mates. We've seen it in them refusing to implement restrictions in order to continue this very abstract notion of the economy that basically just means enriching business owners. We've seen this attitude, which is, rather than how can I protect the population and minimize the amount of struggle and damage that this is going to do to people, but it's been, how can I make a quick buck and how can I get away with basically continuing my life as possible? And, when it comes to will Boris Johnson actually resign as a result of both the party and this cover-up, the corruption in the wake of it, I have no idea. He is a scrappy bastard. He is resilient, but he must, because as I said, we're not out of the COVID woods yet. Chances are that over the next few years, we are still going to need the British public to on and off abide by some form of restrictions. And this man has no authority anymore when it comes to asking people to give things up for the broader public health causes. And that's dangerous because having that collective confidence, being able to announce restrictions when they're needed and have collective trust that we're all following those guidelines, that those guidelines are necessary, is incredibly important to public health. And Johnson just doesn't have that authority anymore. Will he do the decent thing? I don't know, but it is a public health risk at this point for him to not resign.